Dajjal will have a mountain of bread. And there are those who will follow him, knowing that he is Dajjal, but they follow him for his bread. A mountain of bread symbolizes wealth, doesn't it? So he's going to accumulate such an enormous amount of wealth that large numbers of people are going to follow him just for his wealth. And in the process of following him for his wealth, they worship him instead of Allah, and they go into the hellfire. I wonder how is he going to accumulate all that wealth? The Prophet said, sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam, that the age of Dajjal would be the age of kathratul riba, meaning that in the age of Dajjal there will be the prevalence of riba. What is riba? And how does riba deliver bread? Rotina? How? I'll tell you how. One form of riba is borrowing and lending money on interest. Okay? The reason why Allah has prohibited borrowing and lending money on interest is given in the Quran. وَأَحَلَّ اللَّهُ الْبَيْعَ وَحَرَّمَ الرِّبَى. Allah has made business halal and He's made riba haram. And so a riba transaction is not a business transaction. Why not? Why not? A business transaction is one in which you can make a profit, or, come on, tell me, you can suffer a loss. Why is the banker leaving the gathering? Call him back, please. Call the banker back. A business transaction is one in which you can make a profit or you can suffer a loss. The bankers just left our gathering. Why? Because they know what they're doing. When you lend money on interest, you are immunized from loss. There is no way you can have loss. If there is a chance of loss, then there is a sister of riba called insurance to cover that loss. So Allah says this is haram. This is haram. Because this does not qualify as a business transaction. If you can only make profits and never suffer loss, then you are going to grow richer and richer and richer and richer. And the rest of the people are going to grow poorer and poorer and poorer and poorer. As a consequence, the Prophet said, alayhi salatu wasalam, whether the rate of interest, the riba, is big or small, it will still lead to poverty and destitution. And so because of the banking system around the world and money being lent at interest, you know something called credit card? Have you ever seen one? Credit card? Yeah. And it's a piece of plastic, and when you go with your wife to the shopping mall, guess what happens? And you see this and she sees that. I'm not singling out the wife, I have my wife in the back there. So He wants to buy and she wants to buy. And the car just comes out and comes out and comes out. And then you are stuck with high rates of interest. And they're squeezing you for everything that you have. So Dajjal is able to do this not only with individuals, but with whole countries. A whole country will be bled to death. There's a book that I like to recommend to you to read by John Perkins, entitled Confessions of an Economic Hitman. So take a note of it, and you see Dajjal at work in lending money and interest to enslave entire countries. And that's how he gets his mountain of bread, and it's constantly increasing. And then Dajjal has another means, also riba, through which to get more bread. What he does is that he replaces real money, dinar and dirham. Here we are, dinar and dirham, which is in the Quran, which is in the Sunnah, which is money which has its value inside the money. He takes that out of the market. He uses the International Monetary Fund to make it haram. We use gold as money. And if you make haram what Allah made halal, that is called shirk. If you make haram what Allah has made halal, that is shirk. That's what the IMF have done. Even Dr. Mahathir was not aware of it. And after Dajjal took the dinar and dirham out of the market, he then replaced it with bogus and fraudulent and utterly haram paper currencies. Those who follow Dajjal, you know, the one that looks like the river, everybody wants a US visa. All that they have to do is to get a printing press and get paper and get ink, and they can print as much money as they want, and they can use that money to buy anything in the world they want to buy, free of charge. You just have to print the paper. So that's a lot of bread, eh? And they're printing the paper like mad now. The banks are in problems, so they give this bank 7 billion. And they give that bank 10 billion. Huh? But when we print paper, have you seen our paper so far? It's the ringgit and the Indonesian rupiah and the Bangladeshi taka and the Pakistani rupee and the Egyptian pound and the Turkish lira. When we print our paper, we have the same printing press, the same paper, the same ink, because we buy it from them, you know. But when we print our paper, and sometimes we don't have to print it ourselves, we pay them to print it for us. Authentic stuff, eh? And they print it for us and they send it to us. But when we take this paper to Manhattan, we cannot buy even a cup of coffee with it. It makes us look like a bunch of donkeys. The Dajjal has given us a monetary system which is unjust and is ripping us off, and so his mountain of bread is constantly increasing. Who is to be blamed for this? Answer: the one-eyed people who have eyes and yet cannot see. Amongst them, who have the greatest blame of all? Answer: the scholars of Islam. The scholars of Islam have failed miserably. And that is why we are in the mess in which we are now. And because I speak these words, there are so many masajid, they don't want Imran Hosein.